Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, Churchill County High School is pleased to present the candidates for the 1984 sophomore class homecoming attendant. The sophomore candidates are being chauffeured by Mary Hansen in a 1949 Packard convertible owned by Mary Hansen. We are pleased to introduce Miss Christy Baker, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Baker. Miss Baker is being escorted by Mr. Tim Coverston, son of Mr. and Mrs. Marshall Coverston. And Miss Vicki Bartell, daughter of Mr. Bartell and Mr. and Mrs. Bartlett. Miss Bartell is being escorted by Mr. Robert Banovich, son of Raymond and Renee Banovich. And Miss Jeannie Progene, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Progene. Miss Progene is being escorted by Mr. Trini Guillen, the fourth son of Mr. and Mrs. Trini Guillen. And the junior class candidates for the 1984 junior class homecoming attendant are being chauffeured by Mr. Jeff Peel in a 1955 Cadillac convertible owned by Mr. Ernest Hain. We now present Miss Janelle Myers, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jim Myers. Miss Myers is being escorted by Mr. Ron Balcom, son of Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Balcom. And Miss Brenda Silva, daughter of Mr. Bart Hyatt and Mrs. Donna Silva. Miss Silva is being escorted by Mr. John O. Segura, son of Mrs. Eileen Montgomery. Miss Natalie Wood, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Danny Wood. Miss Wood is being escorted by Mr. Jerome Swanborn, daughter of Mrs. Henriette Hoboke. And now it is a pleasure to introduce the four senior candidates for Churchill County High School's 1984 homecoming queen. Miss Laura Fable, daughter of Bob and Shirley Fable, is being chauffeured by Mr. Dan Orozco in a 1976 Fighter Fiat owned by Chris Connor. Miss Fable is being escorted by Mr. Matt Madden, son of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Madden. And Miss Jennifer Hernandez, daughter of Joe and Mary Ann Hernandez. Miss Hernandez is being chauffeured by Mr. Norman Thomas in an original 1936 Packard convertible owned by Mr. Thomas. Miss Hernandez is being escorted by Mr. Adam Fairfield, son of Mr. and Mrs. James Fairfield. And Miss Laney Jackson, daughter of Dwayne and Molly Jackson, is being chauffeured by her sister Jody Jackson in a 1929 Ford. Miss Jackson is being escorted by Mr. Arnold Swanborn, son of Mrs. Henriette Van Hoboke. And Miss Stacy Romero, daughter of Mr. Rick Romero and Mrs. Peggy Vidal, is being chauffeured by Tiffany Yoder in a 1932 Ford owned by Mr. Larry Yoder. Miss Romero is being escorted by Mr. Mark Saki, son of Mr. and Mrs. Norman Saki. The tri-captains of the Fallon Greenway football team, Mr. Dan Condon, Sr. and son of Mr. and Mrs. Bernard Condon. Mr. Ray Charles, Sr. and son of Mrs. Noreen Gonzalez. And Mr. Jeff Moon, Sr. and son of Mrs. Catherine Moon, will crown the 1984 homecoming queen and present flowers to the queen, the senior class attendant, and the junior and sophomore attendants. And now, the moment we have all been waiting for. Enroll, please. The 1984 sophomore class homecoming attendant is Miss Nikki Bartell. The 1984 junior class homecoming attendant is Miss Natalie Wood. The 1984 senior class homecoming attendant is Miss Jennifer Hernandez. Now it is a pleasure to introduce Churchill County High School's 1984 homecoming queen, Miss Laura Fable. And now the Greenway Band will play a serenade to the Queen in her court. Now, the Fallon Greenway back on the field for the second half. We're about ready to start the second half. David Neal will kick off for the Greenway. Deep for the Vikings. Montaigne and Parsons. Montaigne and Parsons. Neal with the kickoff. Pick up by Ron Parsons. Ron Parsons tracking the ball for the Vikings. Ron Parsons carrying the ball for the Vikings. Stop in there by Chris Hettinger. And helped out by Tony Klanakis. So the Vikings will have it first down, 10 yards to go. Ball resting at their own 36-yard line. Vito back to throw. Sean Vito throwing. Stop made in there by Paul Isaacson for the Vikings. So Fallon will have a first down, 10 yards to go. Ball rests at their own 41-yard line.
Tipped off Northern AAA Zone, 4 sites across the Reno-Carson City area, and for a change we had an upset over at Sparks High tonight. The Railroaders were derailed by McQueen. Lancers broke Sparks' press often enough. Kirk Steen wide open here for the easy basket. McQueen wins this one. Sparks junior Eric Martinez will drive the lane for a bucket, but charging's the call as McQueen wins this one 55-45, making key free throws in the last couple minutes for the victory. Over at Hug, Hawks had little trouble with Worcester winning 70-55. As usual, the North's most exciting player, Paul Walker, led Hug. Number 21, a senior, at 24 points, 10 rebounds. He was scoring inside. He was scoring like this from the outside, scored off the rebound every which way. Hug plays McQueen tomorrow night in the old gym. Other two games, Reed gave Fallon an early vacation, 76-35. The Raiders play Carson tomorrow. The Senators rally from 8 down in the last 2.5 minutes to beat Douglas 60-57. College action tonight, second-ranked Georgetown blew Pitt out 70-47. David Wingate,
they, of course, have already qualified for the state tournament, which is next week down in Las Vegas. We've got 8 other teams, though, trying to get the final 2 slots for that tournament down south. So they're battling it out tonight. That's right. Thanks a lot, John. Hello, everyone. Tonight's opening round in the Northern AAA basketball tournament had a little bit of everything. A couple of routes, a nail-biter, and even a mild upset. We'll start things off with that upset. At Sparks, the Railroaders seeded 16 from the field in the final period. Hard to believe. Sparks' only field goal came on the last play of the game when Kevin Gallio hit the layup, but it made no difference as Sparks' poor shooting turned a close ball game into an upset. McQueen derails the Railroaders 55-45. So now the Lancers advance into the quarterfinals to play the number 3 seed, Hug. The Hawks were too much for Worcester tonight. Paul Walker led the Hawks with 24 points. The two teams play tomorrow at 8:30 at UNR's old gym, and the winner of that game plays Reno in the semis on Thursday night. In the other bracket, Douglas blows an 8-point lead with less than 3 minutes to go against Carson, so now the Senators advance.
The Lancers will meet Hug in one of the quarterfinals because Hug is having a relatively easy time against Worcester. Hug in the white in these shots. Paul Walker goes for 24 for the Hawks. He also had 10 rebounds. The Hawks had almost 30-point lead at one point in the game, wind up winning by 15. Larry Rutherford hits for 20 for the Colts, but the Hawks win it by 15. Over at Reed, the Raiders playing the Fallon Greenway. Chris Cox will come up with a 2-pointer to make it 48-20, and then Richard Armstrong gave the Raiders a 30-point lead, 50-20. Reed goes on to win that game in a big way, too. Now, Carson beat Douglas 60-57, so they will play Reed tomorrow night. Those two ball games will get underway at 7 and 8:30. The boys' games will be played in the old gym at UNR. Girls AAA, 2 games now, and he still can't hit number 500. They beat number 19, Maryland, 15 straight.
He's going to score here. Shepard, 16 straight points in the third quarter to lead the Raiders. Carson was led by Gerard Jim, who will nail this long bomb, but the Senators, with 2 6'6" freshmen, a year or two away from dominating anybody. Final Reed 67, Carson 51, qualifying Reed for the state tournament. Late game Hug against McQueen, 6'6". John Kozak gives McQueen an early lead with this inside bucket as they gave Hug a real battle. Hug, as usual, was led by number 21, Paul Walker, who hit from the outside here in this shot. He was hitting from all over the court. We'll see a fast break coming up. Walker's going to be at the end of it to lay it in. The game went down to the wire with Hug clinging to a 2-point lead and eventually winning it 51-47. Hug will play Reno tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and we look at one more blocked shot. For the girls tonight, Reed nips South Tahoe thanks to number 11, this gal, Roz Kapakunga. Her outside shooting.
The seeded teams played tonight. How good are they?
Pretty good for Northern Nevada basketball, which this year is at its worst that I've seen it in 6 years, talent-wise. I have a feeling when they go down south, they're going to lose by an average of 20-25, because I got to look at a couple of the southern teams tonight, some highlights, and they're playing great basketball. Just for your information, El Dorado is the top seed from the south, then Clark, then Valley, and Chaparral. Those 4 teams will play in the state tournament in Las Vegas next week. For the girls, it's good news for the local Northern Nevada teams because Chaparral, which was 21-2, was upset today by El Dorado, so they've been knocked out of it. That was the best team down south. So it's Clark, Las Vegas, El Dorado, and Western, and that's the south. Big night for local high school basketball. AAA zone semifinals and B-state tournament tipped off around the city. AAA boys early game. Hug gave second-seeded Reno a battle and upset the Huskies 72-65. Paul Walker with the hoop here gives them a 10-point lead with 3:58 left to play in the game. Emmett Thigpen with the jumper at 14, his brother Reggie 13, and Thad Corley added 16, but it was Walker who pumped in 25 to lead the Hawks to their victory. For Reno, as usual, Brian Foster, a big number 55, Joey Kreitzer Kreitz, each hit for 19 points. Here's Kreitz for 2 underneath. Hug is now at least the number 2 seed. They will play South Tahoe because South Tahoe tonight in the late game used a tremendous height advantage against Reed. You're going to see 6'7" junior Chuck Gentry. Look at this big monster go in for 2. Easy 2. Then they have 6'4" Tom Fay. He had about 20 rebounds tonight to key the fast break. Gets up high for this one. Finds his way down low to Gentry. He doesn't miss up close. The big guy basically was unstoppable when he was in the game. Roddy Shepard was the bright spot for Reed tonight. He's going to get a move underneath in the land of the Giants for 2. South Tahoe wins this 62-49. They will play Hug for the title Saturday night. In the B League, top seed Virginia City here blasts Austin 63-48, led by Todd and Marquez. They combined for 38 points. The Muckers' main competition. Alamo from down south beat Smith Valley tonight 76-51 to also stay unbeaten. Gabbs beat Eureka 49-40, so that long-awaited matchup between Virginia City and Gabbs will take place tomorrow night, 8 o'clock at Reed High. Quickly for the girls' AAA zone finals, Reno beats McQueen 52-50. They will play Carson. Carson beat Reed tonight.
It's decided in the B Division, state finalists in the AAA. The biggest upset of the night came in the Northern AAA Girls Championship final between Carson and Reno. Reno played some great defense, came away with an upset victory. The steal and lay-in by Jennifer Harrington. That was the key play. The final 43-40. The Reno girls do the celebrating. The seedings for the first day of the state tournament that begins on Wednesday. They look like this: Reno against Western, Carson plays El Dorado, McQueen against Las Vegas, and Reed battled Clark. Now the boys' AAA championship was decided in a run-and-gun battle between Hug and South Tahoe. Hug and the Green stayed close all night long. That is the wrong video, gentlemen. Get away from it. That's Bobby Knight throwing chairs. Anyway, we'll tell you that South Tahoe was an 89-84 winner. Tom Fay jammed for 24 points. Paul Isaacson had 31. Game high scorer was Hug's Paul Walker, who hit for 40 points. The boys' state championships also in Las Vegas. Do we have the seedings? I guess we do. South again is heavily favored. Tahoe plays number 4 Valley. Hug tangles with El Dorado. Reno plays Chaparral. Reed must play Southern Kingpin Clark. The state Class B championships were also decided last night, and the Muckers of Virginia City, easy winners. A 69-game winning streak becomes 70. The Muckers played like a team possessed. Tell me, do we have the video, guys? There it is. Alamo was thought to be a better team than the Muckers. No one thinks that is true anymore. VC always does it with defense, and it was a devastating defense, as we hear from the star player of the Muckers.
Everybody said that Alamo was great and everything, but our defense, our coach believes in defense, and he said he was going to win it for us, so I really believe that.
Class B Girls Championship, we had highlights of that one. Eureka came away with a 48-44 win over the girls from Smith Valley, and that is saying that is not going to happen. But there you see Bobby tossing chairs, and he has gone off the deep end. That is it in sports. Thank you very much for tuning in. Back to Chris.
Must have been a furniture
25 points, 79-54. Hawks never really in it from the start. The second game, it was Chaparral over Reno, 81-58. Huskies were outmatched. Later on, the North's top seed, South Tahoe, takes on Valley. That's just getting underway, and Clark will play Reed in the 8 o'clock game. AAA girls broke into the win column in the early game as the state's top-ranked team, Carson City, beat El Dorado 67-45. McQueen led the whole way to the last 26 seconds before losing to Las Vegas High School 62-59. Later tonight, it is top-seeded Reno against Western, and Reed will meet Clark. Playoff game. The North's top seed South Tahoe beat Valley tonight 69-65, led by forward Tom Fays, 23 points and 12 rebounds. Marcos Rodriguez added 11. Chuck Gentry 10 for the winners. The North's number 2 seed Hug not as fortunate, losing to El Dorado 74-54 in this game. Hawks never were in this one. El Dorado kept their starters in the game throughout. Look at that. That's a big 6'9" guy that the Wolfpack will be scouting tomorrow. Now this tape just came in. I am looking at it as you are, so we're going to take a look at what happens. That's 22 Cecil Rudd, a 6'4" freshman with the basket. Paul Walker, of course, for Hug, comes back to hit a bucket, but Hug just couldn't get the ball past midcourt, and everything they threw up got slammed back in their face. Sean Herman with the big block. Kid goes in for the layup, doesn't want to dunk it, puts it in. Just too much speed down south, and Hug is the fastest team in the North. They just couldn't control the tempo. Hug fell behind. They never really got back in the game. Final again, El Dorado 74, Hug 54. I will have Tahoe highlights tomorrow at 6:30. Reno was even less fortunate. They lost to Chaparral 81-58, and Clark beat Reed by 14, 49-34. AAA girls action, more good news for the North. Carson City beat El Dorado 67-45. Reno down Western 64-48. McQueen led all the way to the last 26 seconds before losing to Las Vegas High School 62-59, and Clark beat Reed. Clark 58-42. Prim Walters had 25 points. They will meet Reno in the final. Reno beat Las Vegas 52-49. AA girls also all north. Yerington nipped Elko 44-42 to advance to the final against Incline. Incline beat Boulder 53-50. The boys games later tonight. Yesterday, South Tahoe became the first northern boys team to win this, well, in a couple of years when they beat Valley 69-65. Coach Bill Bobier blamed it on officiating. Real class move. This is Tom Fay, tempered in, big number 40, 23 points and 12 rebounds. Center 6'8" Chuck Gentry, also a key hoop in the closing minutes for the Vikings, but it was the play of their guards which was a pleasant surprise. John Howard and number 21, watch this guy, Paolo Montine, handled the pressure applied by Valley all night. In fact, watch this. Go down the middle, put it up, and hit for two. But still, Valley had a chance to tie it in the closing seconds. They're going down to try to tie it up with about 30 to go. They lose the ball. This last guy's going to kick it for Valley out of bounds. Tahoe hangs on to win it, and their fans take time to eat it up. They will play Chaparral later tonight. Hug lost to El Dorado yesterday because they just didn't have quite as much talent. El Dorado is a huge team, blocking shots all over the place. This one will lead to an easy layup by El Dorado. Hug, of course, was led by guard Paul Walker. Number 21 fired in 30 points. He should make the all-tournament team. UNR is recruiting this guy, 52, Sean Herman, 6'10", very strong inside. Other games, Chaparral beat Reno 81-58, and Clark beat Reed 49-35. AA boys, Minogue tried real hard. They're in green. They played their best game of the year, but still came up short, losing to Boulder City 70-65. Boulder plays Elko tonight, while Lowry will meet Moapa Valley in the other semifinal. All the boys tonight. AA girls are led by Incline's Laura Baker. She fired in 29 points last night. She is number 22. Watch this. She's going to dribble around. 5 different girls she goes by before pumping it in. 29 points. They win this afternoon again, 53-50, while Yerington advanced to the final with a 44-42 win over Elko. More hoop action last night in Las Vegas featured 9th-ranked UNLV, and we're going to switch. Harsh. Well, they only lost by 26, but they did win a game yesterday.
Close.
Northern AAA boys basketball season is over. South Tahoe was crushed tonight by Chaparral 84-58 in one semifinal. Chaparral will now go on and play El Dorado for the state championship tomorrow night. They beat Clark 69-54. AA boys, Boulder City beat Elko by 10, 52-42, but Lowry of Winnemucca nipped Moapa Valley to represent the North in tomorrow's final. Girls action from this afternoon, we got highlights. AA Incline's great player Laura Baker shooting the ball here and getting fouled was again the force. She led the Highlanders to a close 53-50 win over Boulder City. They will play Yerington in the title game tomorrow. Yerington beat Elko by a bucket 44-42. In AAA semifinals, it is an all-northern title game tomorrow. Carson City in this game blew out Clark 58-42 with a great passing exhibition. They really worked the ball around well. Sharkey here to Brown, inside to Prim Walters, number 11, in a three-point play. The Senators are rolling at all cylinders. She led them with 25 points. Reno in the second game beat Las Vegas in a real dogfight, 52-49. Reno